Recording now. All right, one more time. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Thursday Night Art Teachers Art Club. Tonight is Positive and Negative Patterned Diptych with Rene Wagenaar, and I'm going to hand the session over to Rene. She's got her PowerPoint presentation up right now, but I'm sure when she starts speaking, her screen should highlight so you can see who she is, or maybe I can try spotlighting you. There you go. All right, so it's all for you now, Rene. Go ahead.
Well, thank you. Thank you everyone for coming tonight. I know it's been kind of a crazy week and we're all between weather and school bracing. So it's great to have everyone here. I am Rene Wagenaar. I teach high school art in Wisconsin, and I, like many of you, am a department of one. So far, our plan is to go back face-to-face in a couple weeks and live streaming classes for students who choose an every other day hybrid option. So I'm trying to think along the lines of everything I do has to be computer video friendly. So, and this is one that I think will blend easy into whether they're in my classroom or whether they're watching from the computer. So this is one my students tend to enjoy. We start by talking about what a diptych is, and we look at historical references. And basically, we talk about how the two compositions work together to essentially create one work of art. So they work together and they can work separately. These are some of my students' examples. So sometimes they are extensions of each other, the two works of art, or sometimes they're the same imagery, but something's changed. Sometimes they tell a story. Sometimes they're different images, but the style and context make them go together. Side note, this is how I have my students turn in their digital portfolio. When they turn in their artwork, they give it a title, they list the materials, the dimensions, the process they used, their ideas and goals when they were creating their work, so that they have all that information later on as well. This student, so all of these examples are in the class I use. They're using ink and they're using Scratchboard. So in my version in my classroom, they're doing an additive and subtractive version of this project.
Can I interrupt for a quick second?
Sure.
When you laid out the last slide, did your students have to create a slide and send that to you with the text boxes included, or did you do that for the slide presentation?
At the beginning of the year, I give them like a starter digital portfolio, and they can move the boxes around, they can take the boxes away as long as they have the information. Normally, I also have them have a progress shot or a detail shot, like a zoomed in version.
Okay.
Well, and also if they use references, and this student, I believe, had added a second page because she had a lot of information. But if they use reference imagery that isn't theirs, then they have to cite that as well. So they have this, essentially it's a Google slide. They get a copy, they make it their own, and then they screenshot the slide that's due and turn in the screenshot on Google Classroom. That way I don't have kids that, you know how Google Classroom can sometimes change ownership to—
I've never had that.
To the teacher. Something in the way it's set up that's happened a couple times. But so I found that if they just screenshot it and turn it in, then they don't lose access to the original slideshow.
Wow. Can you share this presentation with us in our group folder so that maybe—
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just
Yep,
gonna.
I will have my tech support help me figure out how to do that.
Okay, so it's a
Uh,
template that you make for them on Google Slides, and then they can just copy it over?
this slide?
Yeah.
Yep, essentially they get a blank, it's like a worksheet that they fill out
Okay, so it's a copy for
with
each
their,
student that you've done
yep.
in Google, so
Mm-hmm.
theirs doesn't change, but they can do whatever they want with their version.
Yep.
Okay.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, it works handy for, like you can also make a blank presentation and have them paste in their slide if you want to do an online critique. That works pretty well as well.
Right. Yeah, that's a great idea.
I'm all about the simplest, simplest solution.
Will you give out your phone number too?
So sometimes the imagery is the same and just something's different about them. So like some of the students did the exact same imagery, but they did one in ink and one in Scratch. So my students' diptychs are in ink, and then one is additive by adding ink to the surface, and one is subtractive by scratching away the surface. So as we're getting started, a lot of times I like to bring up actual Zentangle with my students, and we talk about the origins of Zentangle. We talk about Rick Roberts and Maria Thomas and how they took a very simple process that everyone's done, and we have these great conversations really about how they took something as simple as therapeutic doodling and made it really lucrative. And we go on their website and we look at how they've named doodles and copyrighted the patterns. And they've made books, and they have their own brand of art supplies, and they have a teacher certification program. And we we talk about you know, what their potential big ideas could be. Like if someone can make doodling lucrative, what can they do artistically? And it makes for some interesting conversations. And then we look at the process from the website. And essentially, what they're selling is that Zentangles can increase your focus and help you relax and inspire your creativity, build your confidence, change your outlook. So really making it mindful. And we talk about times in their life and their own personal experiences where, you know, if they've chosen to be in art in high school, chances are they've had those experiences where they've lost themselves, lost hours of time in an art project. So we talk about that mindfulness and how it sneaks up and how you can be intentional with that process. So the official Zentangle process is an 8-step process, and it starts with gratitude and appreciation, and then the technical, making dots in the corners, making borders between the dots, and then adding sections inside, which they call strings. And then step 5 is adding patterns within those sections and adding some shading, signing, and appreciating. So that's, you know, it's a very simplified simple process. And we talk about it in those steps. And we talk about, this project's been nice. Sometimes I've done it as just patterning, and other times we talk about pattern, but we broaden it and talk about how you can create patterns out of any of the elements of art. And we talk about texture, and we talk about different patterns in nature versus geometric patterns. And then I let the students choose how they're going to incorporate patterns into both parts of their diptych. And I try to leave it as open as possible so that they can take it in a bunch of different directions. And then after we've got the concept down, they do, in their sketchbooks, they do test out mark making, and we use tanglepatterns.com as a great website. If for those students that just can't think of patterns and or struggling, that's a great website. So then you fill the spaces with tangles, with a variety of value. We talk about how the balance of being mindful, but also thinking about composition and long term, and getting dark areas and light areas and different values through different mark making techniques. So it's a great one for like reviewing the foundations of art.
Great one, I like that.
So we're going to start with a couple mindful breaths, and then I'm going to switch over to my camera, my workstation, and get started. Does anyone have any questions before we do that?
Yeah, I'd love to know about your setup at some point in terms of a camera so that, you know, you can photograph demos.
Well, let me show you this savvy setup where my husband has put a block of wood and got my camera hanging precariously over my station.
Oh, that sounds very familiar. I feel right at home, thank you.
All right.
I think we are all, as art teachers, really, really good at improvising and doing whatever we have to do to get the job done.
Oh my gosh. My setup at school involves a lot of zip ties and
Yeah, and it's all behind the scenes. Nobody has to see it, so it doesn't matter.
we're good at making it work. Sometimes with no budget. So, we're resourceful. All right, well, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable with that. If it's not your jam, you are welcome to keep your eyes open and find a comfortable focal point to let your eyes rest. And we're going to do 3 centering breaths, and on the first one, go ahead and inhale, and as you're inhaling, breathe in this moment and give your mind permission to not think about what has been for the next half an hour. And as you breathe out, let go of anything trying to tug you from this moment. And then breathe in, giving your mind permission to not think about what might be for the next half hour. So as you breathe out, let go of any of the what ifs, trying to predict the future. And then for our third breath, breathe in, giving your mind permission to be just in this moment of creativity and not feel guilty about it. And as you breathe out, you can open your eyes and find gratitude in all your senses. You can wiggle your fingers or stretch in a way that feels good to your body. And when you're ready, you can pick up your pencil or media of choice, and we will begin as soon as I am technically savvy enough to switch over. All right, can you see my workspace?
Yay, well done.
Woo! All right. So this is my little sample, and what I have is mixed media paper, black and white, and then what I am using, and you are welcome to use as well, I have just a uniball fine ink pen, and then a white gel pen are the two that I used. And then I also have a pencil that I was using back and forth. You can do this entire project just with your ink pens. If you want to do like parts in pencil, or if you want to add shading with pencil, you are welcome to do that as well. I'm going to switch this out, and I'm going to put new paper on. Now, in the handout or introduction, it says you can use any black and white media that you want. So you could do this with black and white charcoal, because really we're basically using contrast and patterning to create these two compositions that work together. If you have scratch paper at home, you can do like my students and have white paper and black scratch paper and do that. But today I was thinking it'd be kind of fun to use black and white Posca pens.
What pens?
Acrylic paint pens.
Oh, okay.
Posca?
Yep.
P-A-S-K-A?
I think it's P-O-S-K-A. Like that.
Okay.
And then they're just, you know, they're the shaky ink pens. You can do that with. I might do that since I have them right here. Do that as well. So really any supplies that you have, this is a nice one for if you're able to make kits up for your students. You can throw in some black and white paper and pens. It's good to go. I'm going to start with my pencil. And you can start one of two ways. I'm going to start with the more traditional approach and make the borders. And you can either do that thinking of this as one composition or two individual compositions. So you can put about 1 centimeter away from the corners. And you can start with just one, or you can do both of them together. I think I'm gonna do both of them together and think of them that way. Put my pencil marks right there. And then I'm going to create my border, and that can be really anything. It can be wavy lines, it can be straight lines, as long as it connects point A to point B. So I'm gonna hold my too still. I think I'm just gonna do some wavy lines. Again, it's kind of hard to see, huh? So at this point, you can think to yourself how you want to break up this space, and you can decide, you know your mind best. And the goal for today is for this to be an enjoyable, relaxing activity. So if relaxing to you is grabbing a ruler and measuring out precise spaces, and that's your happy place, then go ahead and do that. If just spontaneously throwing lines down and seeing what happens is your happy place, go there as well. Also keep in mind which would be more pleasurable. lots of little spaces to fill with lots of different designs, or less but bigger spaces to fill with designs. So wherever that comfort is for you, go ahead and fill that space. And you can also at this point decide, do you want them identical? Do you want them similar? With my example, they're not identical. What I did was whatever pattern I used, I put somewhere on the opposite side. So I used the same patterns, but I didn't necessarily put them in the same spaces. If you decide that you want to do 2 individual, this is where if you wanted it to be, this one to be the same, you could use copy paper, or you could eyeball it. And again, that's where your comfort is. Whatever is going to make this a pleasant experience for you, there is not a wrong way to do this. I'm gonna go back to my one big one. And when you're putting the strings or breaking up the space, the only rule is that it touch an edge so that you make an enclosed space. So the edge could be a different line that's already there to a border. It could be from one border and loop around and touch the same border. In my case, it could cross right over the middle. Make spaces. Have spaces within spaces. And with my students, just to give them some guidelines, I tell them that I want them to come up with, and at this point, they've done some test runs in their sketchbook. I want them to have at least 4 types of patterns that, that show up on both pieces. So not all their patterns have to show up on both pieces, but some should unify the 2 together. And also so that they can see that positive and negative and how a pattern can look really different when you're putting white on black versus black on white. Hey, Tim, can you put like a tissue over this light? It's burning just a little too warm.
Or a piece of paper.
Maybe a piece of paper. So I'm going to give you a little bit of time to figure out your strings, figure out your sections. At this point, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3.
Did we ink our lines once we finish the pencil?
I don't right away.
Not right away, you said?
My tech support / maintenance man figuring out my light.
good to have in-home tech support.
Definitely. So sometimes I make patterns into borders, and I can show examples of that. So I don't always necessarily, yes, that's much better. Can you guys see my my workspace better? It's not as hot.
Yes,
Yes, much better.
thank you.
Well, that's good to know. This is a learning curve for me. So I have my spaces. They're not the same on both sides. I have similar spaces, but not identical. And some of them go across the board and some of them are on their own sides. So I started out in pencil. Usually I do the rest in my ink. And you can use, if you want ideas, it's all, and you want to have like a second screen up and you want to pull up tanglepatterns.com or any search for patterns will give you tons and tons of references, tons of ideas. Or if you want to follow along with me and use some of the ones I used tonight, you're welcome to do that as well. I'm going to start with a border one, and I think I'm going to switch to my acrylic paint pens because I think they'll show up better on my screen. And you know, with my students, I talk a lot about, or we do a lot of pre-reviewing what patterns are. And I'm just going to, about this time, I let them loose. And they start going, I put on some music. I even let them put their headphones on if they want to listen to their own music. I think I'm going to turn this string or line into more of a bordered pattern. So I'm taking my ink, or my paint in this case, and I made a second parallel line to the first part of that border. And I think I'm going to just do a series of angled lines that make triangles. I like to remind my students to go slow and intentional and be present and just follow their media, whatever it happens to be, and just be in the moment. And you can turn your paper however it feels comfortable. Raise your hand however feels best. And I think, so this is technically a pattern, but it's still pretty plain. So I think I'm going to use a series of parallel lines within those spaces. And I think I'm going to play around with vertical and horizontal lines. So I'm going to do opposite directions within. Now I have students that really want to use rulers at this point, and they are certainly welcome to. also fine with my students that like to eyeball it. This is a fun one for if your class has been quite noisy and you just want a quiet project. They tend to get really zoned into this, really focused. So I find that my students tend to have, my A-type students tend to have one reaction or another. Some really love this because they love the preciseness of it. And some, instead of being relaxed, are very stressed that they might mess up their pattern. So we spend some time talking about how a lot of times in art, we spend time figuring out how to make something look like we totally meant to do it. And so maybe our plans have to change midway through. Maybe a pattern goes astray, which has been known to happen. So maybe you incorporate in some thicker lines in multiple places so that the mistake kind of disappears into the variety.
Anybody want to start singing?
When I first started this, I had them do their ink one and finish their ink one before doing their scratch one.
Uh-huh.
But now, through trial and error, I've found that I like it better when they're doing both at the same time, like working back and forth between the two. Sometimes they put so much work into that first one, and then the idea of doing another one to the same precision is overwhelming, whereas if they're working both at the same time, they
That's a good point.
Yeah, that is a good point.
and then I'm going to switch over to my white and find a place over here that maybe I want to do the same thing. And I just put right here. Turn this around. This one might look different because it's got more of an angle.
So you're doing the same pattern, but just somewhere else.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's not a hard rule, but
Well, it's easier than trying to do it in the exact same spot.
for, I think for a lot of students, it takes the pressure off.
Yes.
If it's not the like carbon copy.
Right. Because they would make mistakes and it would be frustrating.
Always a heartbreaker when they, especially like, there's a lot of checker patterns where you're filling in every other one, and some kids figure out each spot and then realize they've messed it up partway through. And then we brainstorm. How can we make that look like we totally meant to do that?
Renee, you might have already said this, but what age group do you do this with?
I do it with high school.
Oh, you do? Okay.
But this is a nice one for all varying levels.
That's what I was thinking, because I only go up through 4th grade. But I think my 4th graders could handle it in their own elementary way, you know?
Well, and like with elementary, I would modify to make smaller, like these are smaller pieces. With my high schoolers, they're doing 8 by 10. So they're doing bigger pieces.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a lot more time consuming.
Sure, of course.
I also have my students periodically squint at their pieces. And if they're finding that a lot of their patterns are very similar as far as value scale goes, how can they add variety? Like, could they fill in sections or add patterns within patterns to add a little more variety? Balance between mindfulness and composition.
I've done a project similar to this, positive, negative pumpkins with 3rd graders, because positive and negative was in my curriculum. And I gave them a white color pencil and a black color pencil, and that's what they used. And then it was orange and black paper. And then I gave them a sheet of patterns so that I demonstrated a few, but then they can reference the sheet and choose the patterns. And they really did a great job with the project. So definitely 3rd and 4th graders can do this.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cute. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something on Pinterest, positive and negative pumpkins, that I think it's still out there.
Yeah. I'll look for it.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is like when I first got into teaching, everybody said like, "Oh, don't do seasonal stuff. That's really old school," you know, and like you gotta, you know, change it up and everything. But the thing is, they always love the seasonal stuff. They love it the most.
Yeah.
My high school students love it as well. They get pretty excited about any seasonal anything.
They do. They
Yeah.
really do.
They
I had
look
one-
forward to it. They ask for hand turkeys in high school.
Oh, that's funny.
I know, it's
Yeah,
like it's ingrained in their heads. It never goes away.
I did have one student that thought it ended up looking like a jack-o'-lantern, which was Halloween related in his mind, and
Oh,
whatever religion he was, he was uncomfortable with it. So he did a positive negative apple.
oh, that's good. Yeah, you always
Yeah.
kind of have those alternatives for sure.
Right.
I have
They love the pumpkin.
Oh yeah, I bet they did. Like almost everybody, you know. I have some Muslim kids that they're not allowed to draw certain things. I don't know. I think a pumpkin would probably be okay as long as it didn't have a face on it. But like when we did self-portraits, I let them, like this one girl, I said, well, she couldn't draw her face. So I'm like, well, how about if you drew like your hand and then you could do like what are they, like a henna design on there?
Right.
And just, I don't know.
Which is like these patterns too, line designs.
Yeah. The pumpkins would be cool though too, because you could divide, you know, the lines in the pumpkin could like divide up the spaces.
Right. The curve lines. That's what we did.
Yeah, the texture of the pumpkin.
Yeah. It was good. And the students that, I find that the students that like to doodle and their fine motor skills are more developed, they really did a fantastic job. And then the students that really didn't enjoy sitting and focusing and doodling, they did a lot bigger designs in each of the sections because I think they just wanted it to be done.
Yeah.
So what's interesting though, the ones that go slow really could have spent a lot of time on it.
Oh, I bet.
Like this could take, what we have here could take hours, right?
Right, for sure. Especially
Yeah.
for us.
Right. So how many hours of class time do you spend on this size project?
For that exact reason, I overlap projects, particularly with this one,
Oh, smart.
because even some dedicated students can get a little burnt out, go a little cross-eyed with patterns.
Right.
So it'll be something, it's a nice one to start and have, let's say like, we spend a day or two just experimenting with patterns and researching patterns and mark making with the different media.
Mm-hmm.
So we have our experimental scratch piece of paper, we have our ink pens. They test out making marks, making patterns, making textures. And then we go into making their design. So I would say like 4 to 5 days, straight days working just on this. And then I have it be part of almost like an ongoing project that they go back and forth between, like when they want to break from whatever else we're doing, they can pull this out and work on their patterns and work back and forth.
So then is everything due just by the end of the quarter?
It's a little different every time I do this, but usually about 4 weeks later, and they have time in there.
Right. So then you say, okay, now this has to be done by this date. You've had enough time. Yeah, that's good.
And
I think that's great.
They know right away when it's going to be due, but that we won't be spending all of our time on it. And I do that with most of my projects. Like, these are the days we're going to spend class time on it. And in our school, we have what's called a flex period where they can sign up to go to different teachers.
Oh,
And
right.
so if
Oh,
they
that's
feel
nice.
like they're falling behind, they can come during that flex period and work on it.
Yeah, that's
You
great.
have the ones that love it so dearly that they come in and make 5
Oh my gosh.
in the time that others do 1.
Barely get one done.
And they do them at home. Like, some grab on to the mindfulness, like they're instantly relaxed. And they'll do it when they're supposed to be listening in other classes, and they'll do it at home. They'll come in and show me 8 hours worth of work 2 days later, and where did you have time to do this?
Have you ever seen this deck of cards called Yoga for the Brain?
Yeah.
So they're Tangle cards. So I have those, and I laminated them, and then I share them on a table so they can come grab a special pattern.
I didn't know they made a deck of cards.
Yeah, I think there's a couple sets. I don't know if you could see where my video is, but that's what it looks like.
Wait. Let me scan to find you. There you are.
Yeah.
I have
and they
the
come.
book.
You have that? Yeah. Oh, you have the book.
Yeah.
So there's I think there's 2 or 3 different sets of these.
I'm gonna
And
have.
so then I laminated them.
That's a great
so
idea.
that
Oh,
they
wait,
can.
I didn't see them. Can you put them up again?
Oh, sure. So Yoga for the Brain, is that backwards in the video? And then these are the cards. So they come, and then the back is step by step. So the students that really are capable of doing complicated patterns, they have the step by step. And then the ones that really just want to do hearts and stars, and you know, they can keep it simple, or straight lines, you know, zigzag lines with straight lines in between, whatever.
Right.
Did you make the cards, or I mean, like, or did they come with the book? Because I have that
Oh.
book.
Oh
Yeah.
no, it's a deck of cards. So it's a deck of cards,
Okay.
and it says they were $9.99. I got them at the VAEA one year at one of the tables, and then they have a whole set of them.
Oh yeah. Of course,
I don't
now
know
we
how
can't
many.
touch anything. You know, now it's going to be no touchy.
Well, you know, but we could probably copy some and scan them, put them in a PDF, and then share the PDF with them.
That's a good idea. Yeah. I
just
used to hand out.
They're 40
packets.
cards in a deck.
I just looked them up on Amazon, and they're $9.99 on Amazon.
How many different sets do they carry?
It just has the one set of cards and then the book.
Oh, okay.
But it
Sandy's
is on
speaking?
Amazon, so.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, and I'll print out some samples for the kids too, especially the ones that get the blank page syndrome and just need a little nudge. And I encourage them to not feel like they have to copy the exact pattern, but can have a starting point and make it their own. So right now I am this kind of space that runs between my positive and negative. I decided I'm going to do like a box type pattern. So I started with a zigzag, and then I'm coming in and turning it into essentially diamonds. I kind of go back and forth, and then with value later on, I will play around with those.
Ooh, those could turn into 3D boxes or MCS.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm planning on going with it.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
And I'm just switching back and forth as I go from my light side to my dark side. And then you just leave a little space before you do the next zigzag. If you decide to add value as a next step, can discuss different ways to do that with your students. You can use the traditional pencil method. With, when I do it in class and we're using the scratch paper, we talk about how you can make value with really, really tiny lines. And the more lines you add, it changes the value.
Renee, I have another question that's not totally art related. It's about your tech stuff. So when you're showing your face and your hands at the same time, you must have two cameras.
So where you see my face, that's my laptop. My laptop is showing me that.
And then your hands, is that like your phone?
Yes. My phone is on,
like a holder thing.
Yep, on a holder thing.
Yeah. But then, so is it kind of like you're two people? You know what I mean? Like two.
Now, the presenter last week logged in on 2 different devices. Mine is this cord right here is plugged into my laptop.
Oh, wait. Let me find you. I was on the other. Okay, let me see now.
Okay, so this cord right here.
Yeah, is plugged into your laptop.
Is plugged into my laptop. And then where it says screen share, the option to screen share.
Oh, then
can you see that?
No, but I know what you're talking about. I know about screen share. So then you can just share where your phone is plugged in.
Yep. So there's an option that says iPhone/iPad via cable.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I didn't know you.
That's cool. Yeah, thank you. It's so nice to be able to see your face and what you're working on.
I was trying to figure out how to do that for our students, and this is a very simple way to do it. Just log in under 2 devices, and you've got your 2 screens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Easy, yeah. Because if the students can't see your face, sometimes they disconnect. So.
Right.
So then which one do you use for the sound? Which device do you use for the sound?
Mute one or the other.
Whichever one is better.
Okay.
Well, I with Rene, she doesn't have to mute one, right? Because you're sharing.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, you do.
If you signed in as 2 people, then you'd have to mute one.
Yeah, when you log on 2 different devices, then you have to mute one.
Yeah, because otherwise you get this weird echo feedback thing that sounds terrible.
Right. Oh, yes. Oh my gosh, that happened to me one time, and I had like a lot of kids. I had like 50 of them on there, and one of the kids figured out how to like come in as another person, and so she was in there twice, and it had this like brrr, it was so loud, and oh my gosh, it was just so distracting to everyone. It was terrible. But my friend teacher, she's like, oh, stuff like that's always gonna happen, just don't, let it go. We're all learning.
Exactly.
So is everyone here from New York, or are we all over the place?
All over the place.
Oh, good. I'm from Minnesota. You can probably tell from my accent.
I'm from Wisconsin.
Oh, great. Hi, Renee. We're not that far apart.
From Minnesota, I can't tell.
Me?
Who's me?
Oh, Laura.
Oh,
Laura?
Oh, sorry. Here, I'll turn my video back on. My son was here. He didn't want anyone to see.
Oh, there you are. Hi.
Hi.
Laura, I like your accent. I'm originally from Iowa, so it's nice to hear that. I'm in North Carolina now.
That's nice too. I was listening for New York accents. I'm so like fascinated. I was telling my family, I'm like, oh, I'm going to this like New York teacher thing. It's like so fancy.
I'm in Virginia.
Okay.
So
That's fancy.
Fancy in New York.
Yeah.
I'm in Michigan. I'm in Kansas.
Wow.
I'm in Dallas. Hi.
Dallas. Even hotter.
Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm gonna cry. That's like amazing.
That's funny.
Oh,
What part of New York? Who's from New York?
2 of us at least.
From New York, Long Island, well, Queens, New York.
I'm in
Oh, wow.
And I'm in Westchester, and I just messed up all my little squares. They don't.
Oh. No, you'll fix them.
yeah,
They're happy accidents.
Exactly.
that's what I was saying.
I'm in the in-between stage. They're not happy yet.
Okay.
Embrace your wabi-sabi.
I'm in Washington State.
My West
Wow.
Wow. All the way from east to west then.
Wow.
I'm in Ontario, Canada.
Holy.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Who's in Ontario?
Leslie.
Hi.
Hi.
Wow.
I
This is
think
my first Zoom meeting. It's kind of weird to learn how to do it. It works.
It does work.
Yeah.
We're all learning a lot together.
The features and the microphone and turning it on and off. And anyway, I think I have it figured out now.
Well,
I thought this was all New York City teachers, so that's kind of nice that it's, although I used to teach in New York City in Harlem.
Oh my gosh.
wow.
PS 113.
Who is that?
Wow.
My name's Meg, and I used to teach in New York City back in
Wow.
the late 90s.
Yeah, all over.
Ran away from the city, huh?
I did. Unfortunately, the school closed and reopened as at the time the chancellor came in and closed it because it was a very underperforming school. So they reopened it as another school, as an academy of some sort.
Right.
And we had the option of either staying or going, and it was really rough for my first 2 years of teaching, so I decided to take off.
I can only imagine how rough that would be.
It was, yeah. It was really,
as an art teacher.
It's all high-risk kids, and it's
yes.
pretty
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the population I've always worked with, and that's what I've chosen, so I can't complain.
Is it better where you are now?
Yes, yes.
Where are you now?
I'm in Michigan.
Oh, that's a whole different world.
Yeah, it's suburban Michigan, so yeah, it's a whole different thing, yes. But I'm from Michigan, so it's, you know, I'm familiar.
I bet you're glad to be back there and not in the city at this point.
Well, I miss New York a lot, but yes, I, you know.
Less populated.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, both of my children were living and working in Manhattan, and they both left in March when they shut down the city, and one lost his job, so he hasn't gone back, and the other one's been back at work since June. So she's back there. But she's drawing patterns for a living.
Oh,
that's nice.
I know. She works for Fun Socks. So she's designing little patterns on socks.
Oh, how much fun.
Cool.
I know.
Awesome.
She loves it. She just started in January, and she just sent a board of socks that they just got the samples done.
Oh, how much fun.
So, yeah, it's kind of exciting. She loves it.
Does she have to do them on computer? Like, does she have
Yes.
she has to code the patterns so they can do the weaving?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, pretty much on all the Adobe programs. So she's just drawing all the time.
Oh, how much fun.
Yeah. But living at home for March, April, May, and June wasn't so much fun. Right.
So what's going on with the New York City schools? Are you guys definitely face-to-face, or what's the story?
We don't know yet. Our governor is supposed to make an announcement tomorrow.
Okay.
To give us an idea, because we're not supposed to start, well, the kids are not supposed to start until after Labor Day, and this year it falls really, really late. So
okay.
He kind of has time to make a decision. I suspect that, well, Chicago just announced that they're going fully remote, and we're the last remaining large school district countrywide who still hasn't decided. So I'm kind of hoping that he opts to open fully remote.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we'll do that too.
Yeah.
Have to. We are short. I mean, every school is short, like half the staff it would need to open in a blended model. And where would you be getting all those teachers from and all the money to pay them? So
Right.
at some point, they're going to realize it's not a workable plan. But are they going to realize in time is the question.
Right.
And it's costing so much more money in all the equipment and the ventilation and the PPEs that have to be provided. If they just stay closed for another few months, they'll save all that money that they could then put into improving, you know, remote teaching and professional development and all of that.
Right.
Or our teachers' choice money back.
Our Minnesota schools are all mostly hybrid. Minneapolis is gonna be online, but like I work for an urban school called Fridley, which is just north of Minneapolis, and we have a lot of Minneapolis kids, and we're doing hybrid, and it's just ridiculous.
Wow.
What is your version of hybrid? Because ours specifies that we be in 2 places at once, basically.
Yeah, some people are doing it a little differently, but ours, the kids, so they split the kids into 2 groups, and there's like an AA Monday, Tuesday. Then Wednesday they clean the school, so everybody's at home. And then Thursday, Friday is the other group of kids. And our mascot is the tigers, so it's the paws and the stripes.
Oh, wow.
So they only clean your school once a week?
Well, no, there's all this stuff about in between classes and all that.
Every hour they're coming around, they're saying with
And
ours.
probably weekends too.
Yeah, it's just, there's just this one really intense one.
Right.
When the 2 groups switch is the thing.
Ours are coming alternate weeks, but the weeks that they're not there, they're supposed to be remote, which means you're teaching the, you know, face-to-face kids, and at the same time supposed to be remote with the kids that went back, you know, home that week.
Right, yeah.
I don't know how you're supposed to do that at the same time.
It's so ridiculous.
Well,
Is the families had the option of doing every day, so they're there 5 days a week, or they're hybrid where they come every other day. And then, so essentially we're being broken up into three groups: the kids that come every day, the kids that come on A day, and the kids that come on B day. And whoever is at home is supposed to be watching live broadcasts of our classroom and participating at the same time.
So not only do you have to monitor the kids in the classroom, but you have to keep remembering to look at your screen to see who's participating from the computer.
Yep.
Yep, we're supposed to do Zoom with the online kids at the same time that we're supposedly have half the class. But I still don't get it, how the hybrid works if we have half the students. And
sorry for laughing.
Like, crazy.
So
I'm struggling to understand how to have conversations. I think that's a big part of art, is discussing. And how do you have the ones online at the same time as the ones in your classroom?
okay, so my coach, I'm in Dallas ISD. It's a really large district, and we have not decided. School is going back September 8th. We have no idea in what form. My coach, I'm head of the department, but my teacher, my other art teacher, and I have decided that we're going to teach as if everyone is online, even though some students are remaining home because parents have that option. My own children are not going back. They're going to be at home. But we're going to teach it as if it's all online. The reason is that it'll keep kids from getting confused as to what the procedures are, how things are going to be presented, how things are going to be graded, where do you turn things in. So we're going to do it that way. And then also, it'll help with social distancing. I mean, because when you're teaching regularly in the classroom, you're usually up in that kid's face because you're sitting right next to them as
Right.
close as you can get so you can both look at the artwork together.
Right.
You can't do that now. There's no way. And if you're not going to be doing that, then teaching it as if it's all online, whether they're actually in the same room with you or not, will keep everybody on the same page. So if somebody does need to speak, everyone's going to be aware of it, whether you're at home joining the class or 3 feet from me at your table.
So essentially the kids in class are going to be participating online.
Also, yes, everybody's
I
going to
like
be
that
on.
idea. I think I'm going to do something similar to that. That's
Will they have their computers?
Yes,
The-
we have everybody already has computers.
So the kids that are sitting in your room will be looking
Will
at their
also-
computer
They'll
as
still
you're
have their-
demonstrating in the front of the room.
They can see it either on the big screen or they'll be able to see it on their personal computer, either way.
And then they'll log in and you'll mute them.
They'll mute themselves.
I wonder if
If they need help
the
being
mute,
muted, I can come over there.
I wonder if the mute button will work while they're sitting in the class.
I think
No,
so.
Johnny, you're muted right now.
I know, right? I said mute.
You're not.
There's always that one kid that like every thought that he or she has comes out while you're demonstrating every time. So that's
Oh my
gonna be
gosh.
funny.
But
we
that is the best idea ever. I have not thought of that.
well, the whole thing is the kids
Totally makes sense.
need consistency. I don't know what kind of kids y'all have, but my district is the one that has the most refugees. And
Oh,
so
wow. Okay.
we get kids in our school who have never even been to school before. And so
Wow.
they don't speak English. Their parents don't speak English. Nobody in their household is literate in any language. They don't know how to use phones. They don't know how to, just normal stuff. They don't drive. So, but they're great kids and they try
Sure.
really hard. So they're great students to teach, but there are some obstacles there that you wouldn't necessarily have, some of them are scared of the hand dryer in the bathroom that they call the wind machine. They call the hand dryer the wind machine. But there's all kinds of things like that. Like kids will come mid-year and I sit them at a table and they're trying to, because they're very serious, they want to learn things and they don't know how the glue stick works or the scissors. All this stuff is just magic. So you can imagine how difficult it is for them online. So for our students, once they learn something, you have to just keep doing it the same way forever. Because if you change anything, they have no idea what to do.
Yeah.
You know
But
what
that's
else?
a great idea. That's a great idea.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Because my kids are all trauma impacted and
Yes, similar with these students.
so challenged in so many areas. So consistency is
right. The structure and the consistency are more important even than your content.
Exactly. Seriously. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway,
You know what else I love about that idea that that I'm going to try to do? I don't know if I can be on top of it enough. I would love to be able to make my demo videos ahead of time without a mask on my face so that I can see my mouth moving and then play the video of the demo, but be able to be on top of the conversation,
the chat and the unmuting people, and if they raise their hand, they have a question. So you could just be monitoring. You could be the administrator of the lesson.
And if you have a pre-made video, even if it's of yourself, each group that you have is a little different. So you can stop it at different times. Like if you notice people are kind of freaking out at one area that maybe nobody else has, you can still stop it and be like, oh.
And the kids that miss it can just watch.
They can just watch it again.
I am really liking this idea. My brain's just a whirring.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Plus then if you're monitoring students in your class and online, you'll be able to do that if you aren't trying to finish your lesson.
Right.
Demo at the same time. Oh.
Yep.
It's so hard. But you really got to be on top of things to videotape everything in advance.
I just want to thank you, Renee. I'm going to have to hop off, but thank you everybody very much for being here.
Well, thank you for
Glad you made it, Kristen.
Great to see you all. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the video. I'll have to do a do-over, so mine will be.
Is everyone feeling comfortable with patterns? I'm kind of in the zone, but I can like do more starter patterns if anyone's struggling with coming up with ideas, or if you want to see kind of shading, just let me know if there's anything that.
Yeah, I would like to see the shading.
Okay.
In those two sections.
So I have this top part kind of filled in with the blocks, and instead of using a pencil, what I'm going to do is use my my Posca pens, my acrylic pens, and I'm going to use stippling to create shading on one side of the box, and I'm going to just do a couple layers. So I'm just going to create value that way. If you want to go the more traditional route, you can do pencil. But I'm going to do every left side. I'm going to add a little bit of stippling just to kind of play with. And when I'm working with my students and they're using scratch paper, we talk about stippling, we talk about hatching and cross hatching to create value. You can kind of see how adding that little bit of shading more or less. It kind of adds dimension, adds a little depth once you start building some shading and different values in. Goes in.
Is anybody working to both pages at the same time, or are you guys working one side at a time? I'm curious.
Both pages.
Both?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing both pages.
And with different patterns, you can add shading into what would be the creases to make parts pop out.
So where would we be able to find your PowerPoint?
I'm going to put it into the group file.
It's so funny that you asked. I was just about to say, if you guys, if I have you on my email, in our mailing list, I will send everyone, again, the link to our Google Drive folder for all the resources from this art club. And inside of that folder is a folder for each different session with all of if there's PowerPoints for each dedicated session. And what I would like to do also is make a PowerPoint where everybody could just upload their artwork and put their name on it once it's finished, so we can all see each other's work. And also so that I can send everybody a link to the YouTube channel to view this or any other ones once it's recorded and uploaded. So
what is your email?
Okay, my email, I'm gonna hold it up. I don't know if everybody can see me.
Should I stop sharing for a bit so that you can?
If you want to.
There.
Oops. Lost my screen. Okay, here I am. Can you guys see my email?
No, I just lost everything.
It's mndnspirit@aol.com. So as long as I have your email, I will send everybody's links for everything. And I'll also send you the upcoming dates. I'm going to be doing mandalas next week. And then we have jelly prints coming up the week after, which you need to make sure you have the supplies for if you're going to buy the jelly plate. Oh, Jacqueline is losing her mind. Somebody's going to be doing jelly printing, and if you're going to buy the plate, make sure you have it in time. If you're going to make it, there's a link to a recipe to make it using gelatin. And the week after that, I also just got a commitment from, oh my God, I just blanked out on her name. Mandy Teese. She's an atelier, and she will be teaching us how to create textile patterns from nature. So I'm really excited about that. So we have the next 3 weeks, and I'm not sure what's going to happen once school starts, but if anybody wants to sign up to instruct the following week, let me know. If you guys want to put it on pause for the month of September also while we all go crazy, you can let me know also. But let me know what your thoughts are in terms of what's coming up, okay? And if you have any questions, feel free to email me as well.
Yeah, maybe if we can't do it every week during the school year, maybe even once a month or every other week or something.
As long as we have something to look forward to for our own souls, that would be really nice.
Agreed.
Yeah. We just have to make sure we have people to switch off and volunteer and teach something that they love. So it's not always, you know, the same people. And that's it. I'm not sure what time it, oh, it's 8:32. So I guess unless you have any questions, we could say goodnight, and I'll send the links out tomorrow. Please post your work when you finish it, and I'm so happy to see you all. Thank you for being part of this community. It's really, it's good for my heart.
Thank you.
And thank you, Renee.
Stephanie.
Thanks.
Thanks, Steph.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was really fun.
Yes, thank you for everything.
Bye.
Thank you, Renee, for your instruction.
Yeah, thank you, Renee.
Yeah, we're all on a learning curve together, and with us all being teachers, I didn't know how much to say, or I was.
Say whatever you need to say. There is, you know, we're all here on the same boat for each other. And what
I love about this group.
Somebody else does, yeah. So we were all helping each other out. And Renee, thank your husband, Mr. Technology, there also. Thank you.
Yeah,
I don't
we're
know.
all gonna
Anybody
have
want
to
to
learn.
anybody want to hold up their project? So you
Renee,
can
I don't know.
see how far along everybody's gotten.
Oh my goodness, some
Ooh,
of
I
you have
like
gotten
this
so
snake.
far.
Oh my
You guys are
gosh.
fast.
Nice.
Whoa,
I love
So
how
fast.
different they all are. It's
you guys
just
Oh,
are
I
really
love the
fast. I'm
circles.
stuck.
Circle.
No, the circles are, you cruise down there.
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
some of you were on a mission.
Leslie, how'd you get so
Steph,
much
you're almost
done?
done. Wow. I
They're
can't see your name, but those circles, you're pretty much done.
With a stencil on a gel plate first.
Oh,
Gel plate print. Can't wait for next week.
a stencil. Smart.
Thank you, beautiful people, for sharing.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Yeah.
Have a good
Thank
week.
you.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
thank you.
Looking
All
forward
right,
to
bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Tech support. Can you help me get the PowerPoint? Actually, I want to touch some things up with it first, and then I'll put it on. Steph,
Yes.
what is easier? Should I put it, share the, it's a Google Slides. Should I share it with you or share it with everyone?
How about when I send you the link tomorrow, make sure, I don't know how you can set it so that it can't, you know, people will have to download it in order to use it so that they don't mess with your original.
Well,
but
I'm gonna make a copy so that no matter what, it doesn't mess with my original.
Okay. So then what I'll do when I send the link to the drive, then you can upload it into your folder.
Okay.
Okay.
It's the same drive as last week, right?
It's the same drive, and within the drive, there's folders for each session that we have had, I think. Or I don't think I've made one for you yet, but I will before I send out the link.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I'll get that on tonight then.
All right. Thank you so much. Good night.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye, Mom.
Bye, dear.